What's up guys, this is Stephen Jones from Bag Buff, and today I'm going to talk about sewing around curved seams or sewing a curved seam on a pattern piece, two pattern pieces that might look like this. Now these are two pattern pieces from the Mountain Flyer ultralight backpack. You can check that out in the notes below. But as I set up here, I'm going to show you a couple of cool things that you can do to make sewing around a corner or a curved seam easier. Now what I have here is just tape. Kind of like painter's tape, but it's a different color. And what I can do is I can take my ruler, set my needle, lift the foot, set the needle on 3/8 of an inch because that's my seam allowance. And then I will lay that tape down against that ruler. So there is my 3/8 inch guide for my seam allowance. The next thing you can do is put your needle down, butt that ruler up to the needle, and mark on that tape with a marker where your needle hits. So now I have a piece of tape plus a marking on where my needle hits, and this is important when you're sewing a curved seam because it's a little tricky to see where your seam allowance is and where your needle's hitting. So I have my two pattern pieces, and when they're complete, they're going to lay together like this, but they're going to be stitched together. So what I'll do is I'll take one of the edges that line up, and I'm just going to flip these right side to right side, like so. Then I have these clips, and I'll link these on Amazon. I get them at Home Depot. I just bought like 100 of them because I use them for everything. And I will clip the two pieces of fabric together with this clip. And I put the tip of the clip at around 3/8 of an inch because that's where my seam's gonna go, and that's pretty important. So then I'll take the other edges that have to go together and I'll line those up and clip them. Now on these two pieces of patterns, they have notches where they align in the center, which is super helpful because I made the pattern. So I am going to also clip where that notch is. Now you'll see that these two pieces of fabric don't really line up. Now on the corner or on the curve, this yellow piece that has the longer part of the curve, the edge is actually going to be longer than the edge of the red fabric because that's the inside of the curve. Now that's fine, but the important part is that the actual part that's being stitched 3/8 inch from the edge is what aligns. So what I do now is I take these two clips that I know are exactly where they need to be, and I'll put them face to face and basically just fold these two pieces of fabric over, and this will give me a good idea of where these fabric pieces should line up in the center. And I'll take that center and I'll clip it. Now what I do next is I go between these smaller sections, right? Because before we had a really large curved section, and that's very difficult to figure out what aligns where. So now it's nice because I have these smaller sections, and if I pull the fabric at these clips, I can see the straight line is going to go together nicely. So then I'll go between the next two clips and I'll pull it straight. And one of the tricks you can do here is actually fold it both directions and just make sure that it's aligned really nicely. So then I'm going to go to this next section, fold it in half, and do the same thing. I'll stick my finger down here, grab both the layers, and slide the other one up. And that is likely going to be where the pattern pieces are meeting. And then I'll go section to section. That's straight and nice, and this is straight and nice, and boom. What I've done is I've taken that curve and I've made it into smaller, more manageable sections, and that's the key here. So I will start on one end of the curve, take off one of the end clip, set my lock stitch, and then I'll go to my next clip, this one, I'll put my finger down on the fabric right in front of that clip and just make sure my fabric is aligned and pulled tight, and I'll just let the machine pull that through all the way to the clip. Once I get there, unclip it, go to the next clip, pull it tight. And this is where it gets important, that line that we drew on that piece of tape. We know that that's where our needle is hitting, right? The common mistake is a lot of people watch the fabric on the front of the foot, and that's where they make their adjustments. That's not where you want to make your adjustments, because that's not where your needle and thread is going into the fabric. So watch that line, make sure your pieces of fabric are aligned, pull on the fabric right in front of that clip, and let your machine do the pulling. Once that clip section is done, I will move to the next section. And I'll just keep doing this. Clockwork, segment by segment, piece by piece. And you're going to have the edge of one fabric be shorter and longer, but remember, you're not worried about the edge, you're worried about the needle and thread it's going through, and that is the seam allowance. Now when you're done with the curve, you're going to have two pieces of fabric that look kind of strange until you pull them out. And boom, there it is. A nice, flat, perfect curve. So that's how I do my curves. I use the heck out of these clips. I will link those in the notes below. I hope this video helps you. This is how I do it. Let me know if this is how you're going to be doing it too.
I hope this video helps. If you have any questions, leave a comment below and I'll try to answer as fast as I can. If you guys want to check out other videos, there they are. Feel free to subscribe. And if you're interested in bag patterns or learning more, check out bagbuff.com.